So we got a few more peppers for our last harvest. A lot of them are like really tiny, but they're already starting to shrivel up a little bit from the cold. We did get a couple nice ones though. And lots of Marianas. And then I think I'm gonna leave the beans to dry up because you're not supposed to harvest them till they're brown and dried and stuff. So I'm gonna leave those to dry up.
Hey, so in this video we're gonna be wrapping up our Survival Seeds 2024 season. We're gonna show you our Survival Seeds garden and a couple other stuff we got going on around our garden, and we're gonna share a little bit of what we learned from the season.
So what did we do with our Survival Seeds harvest? Now, if you remember, the 6 seeds for Survival Seeds were kidney beans, onions, butternut squash, pepperoncini peppers, Mariana tomatoes, and beets. And so those were the 6. And of the 6, we got a lot of harvest from specifically the Mariana tomatoes and the pepperoncini peppers. And those did really well. And so with those, with the peppers, we intended for these to work both ways. You can use them in salsas, and you can also fry them, like we use Melrose peppers.
These guys.
We fry Melrose peppers up with like bread and all sorts of stuff, and we were hoping that we'd be able to use these too. And we tried that, but they're a little bit spicier. They're on the spicy side. So Dad ended up being the only person who actually liked the fried pepperoncinis. So they didn't work out very well for that, but they are really good, and we ended up pickling them. Now, jalapenos are a must in our household. We love jalapenos, and Mom likes cowboy candy, but Dad doesn't like how sweet it is. So this year
is not part of the Survival Seeds.
Yeah, this year we used our jalapenos to just make pickled jalapenos, but we also did the same thing with some of our pepperoncinis, and you can see just by looking at it how much bigger the pepperoncinis are than the jalapenos. So we're excited to see how that turns out, if they work out the same way that the jalapenos did. And so that's what we use that for.
We got a lot of harvest out of our Mariana tomatoes. We had a weird year with our other tomatoes in our garden, and this ended up being one of the most prolific tomatoes we've grown. We also had Dr. White Cheese peppers, which are these guys that we grew for the What did I say?
Peppers.
Tomatoes. I meant tomatoes. And we grew these for the Grow Big TV collaboration. And these were amazing because they're like beefsteaks, but their skin is tougher and they're slightly less acidic and they don't have the same taste, but they work really well as a tomato. But we made a few things with our tomato harvest this year. We made some apple tomato chutney, which I'm excited to try.
Zesty salsa. Salsa's always good. And then we also used it to just eat the tomatoes because they're tomatoes. You can eat them. They're great. Now, as far as onions go,
we did a great job as far as onions go, as long as you're not talking survival seeds.
So for our survival seeds, we took one of the packages and we planted them over away from our Bunky's garden.
And we planted them in there, and the issue we had with the, you're talking about beets?
Yes.
The issue we had with the beets is that they didn't drain. It was in a kiddie pool and it did not drain. And beets don't do well in a very wet environment.
And neither do onions.
Neither do onions. So neither of those with the survival seeds did very well. The onions that we grew in our normal bed, we had a huge harvest. We had a ton of onions. We made like 80 cups of chopped onion and we stuck it in the freezer. This is not 80 cups. This is just a Ziploc. And there's more. But we had a lot of onions. We also caramelized some, and these go great on hot dogs, hamburgers, etc. But these are pretty much finished. All you have to do is just add them to your recipe. So we actually really liked that.
They're also in our salsa. So we've got peppers, tomatoes, and onions in the salsa, which is awesome.
We didn't have enough tomatoes to do like Italian sauce or anything, but we might have some left over from last year. So
now beans. Our beans grew our kidney beans, they grew really well, and we got a harvest out of them, and then the cows got out and ate them. But they are making a little bit of a comeback, so we should get more after they dry up. But here's our full kidney bean harvest. And it did really well, we just only had so many plants, so I think we're gonna save all of these for planting next year. We're gonna plant every single one of these kidney beans, and then we're gonna get a huge harvest out of it.
I was gonna take like 5. Make them for dinners.
No, I was gonna make you all of them. No, I was gonna make you bean soup. 1 bean.
One bean.
Now, as far as squashes go, we usually have a whole lot of luck growing squashes, and we do really well with squashes. This year, however, we didn't. We actually got no butternut squash and no pumpkins and anything like that, which is pretty different for us.
What we did have was this.
Now, in
this grows wildly in our barnyard, and
okay, so we've grown in the past acorn squash and spaghetti squash. And what this looks like to us is a mixture of acorn squash and spaghetti squash. And it grew in our barnyard, and our barnyard is where we feed the squashes
pigs that we used to have.
To the pigs and the goats.
That we used to have.
And so the seeds, there must have been a few seeds that just fell astray, and then they grew. And they grew really well. We've got so many of these in our barnyard. So we're thinking that we're gonna try them, and we're gonna just grow them and see how they do. So
because we did nothing with them. If they can grow like that, then they should be pretty hardy.
Right.
But that's how our season went.
What we've done with our whole harvest.
We also did some stuff with beets. I kind of accidentally tied them into the onion harvest, but we didn't really get much from the Survival Seeds beets either, because they were also in the kiddie pool. It was the onions and the beets together, and neither of them did very well. But we do grow beets fairly well in our garden outside, and that we usually can. We'll either have it fresh, boiled, etc., or we will can it, and we couldn't find any more, so we may be out, which is sad. But we end up doing a lot with beets.
Yeah, beet salad is really good. Mom's beet salad. Now, beets are really cool because you can make 2 seasons worth of beets. You can plant them early and get a harvest, and since they're so quick to grow, you can get 2 harvests out of beets. And what's awesome about beets is not only do you get the beet, which is the root that you can eat traditionally, like you eat any beets, but you also get the leaves, which can be used as like kale substitute. You can put them in probably salads. We put them in our greens and beans, which we usually use kale for, and we've used beet leaves for quite some time now, and it's really good. And it's less space because you get to grow the beets and the beet leaves together instead of beets and then kale.
Right.
So it's very cool.
So basically what we learned from the Survival Seeds, this was basically what we did to preserve our harvest. But one of the biggest things we learned is not to grow onions and beets in a kiddie pool.
Yes. They need drainage, because those plants, you cannot let them get wet when they're near harvest, you can't let them be sitting in water. And you can see that when you harvest your onions. I did a video on this. When you harvest your onions, you can't let them get wet. You've got to go like a week without any rain or water in that bed before they can be harvested, because they have to dry out. And so beets too, you cannot let them get wet. And so they have to be watered, but you can't let them be like flooded. So we need something with better drainage next year.
I'm not really sure what happened with our butternut squash. I think it drained too fast.
I think that might have been it. We're gonna make a little bed or something for the onions
in the ground.
and the beets, and then we're gonna do the squash in the ground, because that's what we've had most luck with, putting down a black tarp to kill down the weeds, and then planting our squash in that. That's what we've had the best luck with. So I think we're gonna go back to doing that, because this is like the first time we've not had good luck with the squash. So we're gonna make sure we do that.
And we also have some stuff in our greenhouse that we're excited to show you about.
The greenhouse is amazing. We haven't watered this in forever. I don't know how these are doing so well, but look, our cabbage, it's beautiful. It's insane. Look at our kale. It's overgrown, but it's amazing. We can make so much stuff. We can make greens and beans, whatever you eat with cabbage. I can't think of anything right now. And then the biggest surprise, our fig tree. We've gotten maybe 3 figs in the past. Look here, I can beat that right now. 3 figs, more figs, more figs, and then these ones are turning brown. Are they supposed to do that? I don't know. I've never grown figs before. I don't know if it's normal for them to. Oh. Whoops. Okay. More figs up there. So just these little figs, I feel really bad about this. I don't know if this was going bad or if it was
I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm just like, I'm amazed. There's the fig tree, the kale, the cabbage. It's amazing. It's actually blowing my mind. Hi, Falks. Say hi. Say hi, Falksy. Say hi. He's such a good boy.
In addition to gardening and raising animals, we have a music channel at Vineyard Chicks, and we play live music and requests Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on this channel.